Imagine the festivals are ending, the sukkah is coming down, the songs are over. But before we walk away and return to our daily lives, Hashem says quietly, Kashe alai, predatchem. It's hard for me when you leave. Stay with me one more day. The ancient Midrash, quoted several times, Tanchuma Pinchas 16, captures the essence of Shemini Atzeret, la'atzor, to pause or to hold back. It's a day that says, do not rush off. Let's just be together. Martin Buber, the Jewish philosopher, wrote about it in two ways. He wrote about consciousness in two ways. He said there's the I-it relationship and there's the I-thou relationship. I-it, others, people outside of yourself. It creates distance and separation. I-thou is the meeting of two souls. Shemini Atzeret is a pure I-thou. It is a presence with no agenda. It is, sorry. I thought it was needed. It's connection without performance. After Rosh Hashanah's shofar blasts, Yom Kippur's intense prayer and fasting, and Sukkot's joyful dancing and celebration and partying in the woods, we come to Shemini Atzeret and it almost arrives with like a feeling of emptiness. There's no lulav rituals. There's no real rituals at all. Just basic stuff that, like, if the temple was around, would be done every day. But this emptiness is actually fullness. Think of it like the silence after a profound conversation. That moment when your mind is just blown and you don't have words. You're speechless. Our relationship with Hashem is supposed to connect on this day in a way that is speechless. That's what holding space can be. Here's something interesting about the halakha on the sukkah. In Israel, on Shemini Atzeret, we completely leave the sukkah. But in the diaspora, we have this beautiful ambiguity. Some people still eat in the sukkah, but with no blessing. We're safek, we're uncertain, there's doubt about how to calculate the eighth day's status. We linger like someone reluctant to leave a beloved friend's home. Simultaneously in this liminal threshold, this inside and outside state at the same time. The ambiguity is not confusion, it's spiritual sophistication. We're learning to hold paradox, and God very much loves paradoxes. We're learning to be comfortable in that liminal in-between space, that transition place. We're practicing what psychologists call negative capability, which is the ability to dwell in uncertainty and mystery without jumping to conclusions or needing to create some arbitrary answers. In modern psychology, when we talk about holding space, what we mean is being fully present for someone without trying to fix them, judge them, give advice, just filling every silence with our presence. We are there to listen when we hold space, not to direct or coach. Think about sitting with a friend who's going through something hard. Sometimes the very most healing thing you can do is just be there. That is what Shemini Atzeret is about, except it's about that with Hashem, learning to see him and feel him and hear him in the silence instead of in the din of celebration or judgment day or petitioning for forgiveness or any of the other ritualized things that we have to do. God doesn't ask for more rituals or proofs of devotion. He simply says, be with me. Come and sit with me. He says, hold up, don't leave yet. Let's chill. Kabbalah teaches that creation began with what's called tzimtzum, which is a contraction. The infinite light had to create space for other to exist. It's the same word that's used for when a woman begins going into labor and has her contractions. what's happening is that the person is pulling themselves apart to create space for another. On Shemini Atzeret, there's this sort of reverse movement, though. Instead of creating the space for us to be apart, Hashem comes and joins with us, not to erase our individuality, but to experience intimate connection while we still remain who we are. This is what the Hasidic masters call tevekut, which means cleaving to God. Not absorption or disappearing, but staying close while remaining distinct. Like two people holding hands, they're separate and yet joined. We learn in turn that to hold space for God within ourselves, we must quiet our hearts and allow the divine presence to dwell. The prophet Eliyahu gives perfect imagery for understanding Shemini Atzeret. In 1 Kings 19, Eliyahu was looking for God. He expected to find God in all these dramatic and powerful signs, a great whirlwind ripping the environment apart, a massive earthquake shaking the ground, fire blazing across the sky, but God was not in any of those. Eliyahu finally heard Kol Demama Daka, a still small voice, or literally a thin voice. After all the festival season's intensity, Shemini Atzeret teaches us to listen to this quieter frequency. Sometimes the clearest truth comes from not dramatic experiences, but from gentle whispers, from introspection, from cleaving to Hashem. Though it's unusual for me to cite non-Jewish quotes, the Spanish mystic John of the Cross actually wrote about something called the dark night of the soul. Not so much as darkness as suffering, but darkness as the space where we stop relying on our normal ways to deal with things, where we have to abandon our confidence in ourselves and hand it all over to Hashem. Now, I have a little guided imagery session that I wrote for you guys. So if you want to participate, you can. Nobody's obligated. But try to get as comfortable as you can in wherever you're sitting. And if you can imagine, I'm aphantasic, I don't get mental imagery, but if you can imagine yourself out in the Sukkah, those temporary walls, the permeable roof open to the stars. Let your eyes close gently or soften your gaze downward. Just notice your breath, not to change it, just to observe it. The inhale, the exhale, the natural rhythm that has sustained you since birth. Feel the ground beneath you, the walls around you. Fragile, temporary, just there to create enough of a boundary to distinguish between inner and outer. Through the shach roof above, imagine starlight filtering in. Imagine the night sky is visible, reminding you that the shelter is porous, open, and connected to something much larger than itself. This is hitbodedut, the practice of secluded conversation with Hashem, not formal prayer from a siddur, not rehearsed words, just you and the Holy One, alone together. Rabbi Nachman taught, speak to God as you would a trusted friend, in whatever language feels most natural, even in thought if the words don't come. Begin now in your mind's eye, as you're out in the Sukkah, to address the divine presence, not with the voice of your throat, but with the voice of your neshama, your innermost being. You might not know what to say from that point. So just say, Hineni, I am here. Allow whatever needs to surface to arise. Perhaps it's gratitude for the festivals that are now passing. Perhaps it's weariness from the intensity. Perhaps there's questions that you've been carrying and you really, really are stressed and need the answers. Perhaps it's nothing at all, and it's just the beauty of presence meeting presence. There's no wrong way to do this. The Hasidic masters teach that even confusion offered in sincere honesty is a form of prayer. Even doubt spoken truthfully is a kind of devotion. Notice the quality of the silence around you. It is not empty. Listen in between the sounds of the kids and the environment. It's malay, full, saturated, as if all of heaven is listening. Hashem is holding space for us, just as we learn to hold space for others. This is the practice of what Kabbalah calls ratzov v'shuv, running forth and returning, running back and forth. This oscillating rhythm of spiritual life is built in as much as the laws of physics. Sometimes our awareness reaches out to the divine, and sometimes it returns and rests in ourselves, and sometimes it feels like we're disconnected. But like David said, even if I make my bed in hell, behold, you are there. We're never disconnected. It's just sometimes we have to take a step back in order to gain a perspective and integrate. And that's what this day is about, integration. Now, in your inner vision, you begin to sense that it's time to go even deeper, to find a place of complete privacy where you can linger longer in this listening and this heartfelt relationship with Hashem. Imagine slowly you rise with intention and you get up and you go out into the night air and you wander off into the woods nearby, or maybe one of the tents, or you find somewhere where it's just you and Hashem and nobody will disturb you. As you walk, you carry the Sukkah's holiness with you. The walls and the shach roof, all of that might be left behind, but the sacred space has now become interior. You become the Mishkan. You become the Hekel, the palace of God, the sanctuary. You notice the night sounds, maybe wind in the leaves, distant voices fading. Maybe you imagine hearing your own breathing, or the crickets or the night birds rustling in the foliage. Each sound reminds you, though, the world is very alive and you are a part of this aliveness. You arrive at this place of privacy, and it can look different for all of us. What matters is that you are alone with Hashem. This is the literal meaning of hitbodedut. It means seclusion. There's no performance necessary, no rituals required, no mask, no siddur to read from. Just talk. You settle here, sitting on the ground or on a stone or standing, and even lying down beneath the stars, your body finds its natural, comfortable position. And now you practice the most radical act of faith. You simply stop trying. You stop trying to connect. You stop trying to feel something. The silence itself becomes the spiritual experience. And in that still quiet, you begin to hear the kol demama daka, the voice of thin silence. Not emptiness, not absence, but a silence that conveys far more than words can. Listen now for a few moments. In between the external sounds and the children playing, listen and imagine connecting to Hashem, hearing him in the silence, not hearing audible words, but having that consciousness connection. The Baal Shem Tov taught that before a sound can be heard, there must first be silence. This is true because if there's not, then the sounds, the collective sounds interfere and mess each other up. Before a letter can be formed, there must be empty space around it. The silence isn't the absence of God. It's the very medium through which God communicates. Listen to the silence between your heartbeats. Listen to the silence between your thoughts. Listen to the silence at the core of your being, that place that the Kabbalists call Yechida, the singularity, the point of the spark of God's own soul that animates us. Here in this holy silence, words are not necessary. Concepts are not necessary. Theology is not necessary. Understanding is not necessary. There is only one thing in this state. Neshicha, the kiss. Breath meeting breath. Essence touching essence. Slowly, gently, begin to return your awareness to your body here in this room and feel the weight of the earth and weight of your body sitting in whatever chair you're in, or if you're standing. Hear the sounds around you. We hear the sounds in the kitchen and the kids playing upstairs, and you will rise soon and return to the world of people and tasks and time, but something has shifted. The silence you touched is not somewhere outside of you. It lives inside the innermost chamber of your being. The Hasidic masters say after Hitbodedut, we carry the quality of that solitude into the community. We become Mamalei Kol Almin, vessels that contain and transmit the infinite presence into finite spaces. This is the secret of Shemini Atzeret. As the Sukkah ends its purpose for the year and comes down in many places, the holiness still remains. The festival ends, but the essence continues. The outer structure dissolves, but the inner sanctuary continues and abides forever. You are the Sukkah. You are the meeting place of heaven and earth. As Mayim mentioned, the gematria yesterday for Sukkah is 91. You are that 91. You are that combination of Yud, He, Vav, and He, and Adonai. No, I'm not saying that we're God. I'm saying that the transcendent, infinite God that we know of by the name Yud, He, Vav, and He, and the immanent presence, the Lord, the master of the world, within the world, is Adonai. These two names, these two holy names of God, merge together in the Sukkah, showing that it's a place where heaven and earth meet. When you're ready, fully return to the moment if you like, but carry that silence with you. Remember, it's there whenever you need it. Baruch atah Adonai, shomei tefillah, or tefillah, sorry. Blessed are you, Adonai, who hears prayer, and most of all, who hears the prayer of silence. And that's all. I actually have a whole bunch more, but I'm going to cut it short because this is going long.
Thank you. Yeah. There we go.